Hello, everybody. Welcome to this new edition I'm doing on some topics that I'm picking that I think are important, of things that we were not taught in school. How not to be useful idiots. And the topic here is going to be the erosion of competence and how political correctness robs your selfhood and your competence and your excellence. And these were things that I was not taught in school, undergraduate school, graduate school, and most likely you weren't taught either. But what I was taught was good science. I'm a neuropsychologist, good psychology, the classics to see what logic is all about, the biology, see what we're made of, anthropology, see where we come from, and history. And if you have that information, then you can put it all together and it makes sense for you in what I'm going to be covering. So first, let's talk about the culprits. Who are the ones who are creating this political correctness kind of process that's going on that robs you of your selfhood? First, implicitly, not directly, but implicitly, schools, especially the best universities, are teaching what's called social constructivism. And social constructivism is a way of looking at things where self is constructed in the social interaction. There is no self, it's a social interaction. And biology is not considered. You know that biology is there, but it's not considered. You're just a social being and you don't have to consider yourself of any biology, number one. The other one is the postmodernist way of thinking, which basically says that everything is relative. There are no universal truths, and there's an erases self. There's no self. It's also a relativism. And this is why sometimes when you argue with people who have this political correctness and you say, look, this person is doing something wrong, instead of going deep and looking what that person is doing wrong or right, they go into the relativism. They say, well, what about that other person's doing such a thing wrong? So it takes you away from the process of looking deep into what's going on with the argument. So it's a hysterical, non-logical, emotional way of responding, rather than what it could be. Now, let me check to see if the chat is open, the live chat. You're welcome to join me at any time, and I will continue to go with it. So here we go. Getting back to the culprits, social constructivism. You're a social being, and there's no biology to you. And postmodernism, basically, I'm oversimplifying, but basically, it's saying everything is relative. There's no self as a relativity, and there's really no universal truth. There's no moral compass. It's just as you go. So when you create that, then what happens is that you also create the untouchables. And the untouchables are the people that you cannot question, that you cannot debate, and these are what I call the victim icons. These are victim icons come from race, gender, and sexual preference. So if you're in that icon category, you can do no wrong, and you cannot argue, because if you argue, then you will be considered the admonishments are from the political correctness mob is that you're a misogynist, a hater of women, you're a xenophobe, a hater of strangers, a racist, prejudice against race, a homophobe, prejudice against homosexuals and lesbians and so forth, or a white supremacist. All of that is based on pseudoscience, misunderstanding of terminology, not knowing good psychology, not knowing good biology, not knowing the epistemology of things. So let me start breaking that down. Misogynist. What does that mean? Misogynist. Miso means hatred in Greek, and gynis or gynikia means female, so hating females. But you never hear the word misandrist, which is miso, hatred, androus, man, haters of men. Radical feminists are misandrist. They hate men just because they're men. Just like misogynists are people who hate women because they're women. But you never hear that side. You only hear the misogynist. Xenophobe. Xenophobe has been robbed from pathology, psychological pathology, which means xeno means stranger, and phobia. It's not xenophobe, it's xenophobia, xenophobia, or xenophobic. And that is a disorder of people who have problems. They have fear of strangers, not race, not sex, fear of strangers. So if you're black and you have xenophobia, you're afraid of anything that's not familiar to you. But C has been robbed and has been taken into, given a different understanding of what it really is. Um, so then you have these kinds of admonitions. And anytime that you deviate from the norm of political correctness, you're going to get one of those labels. So what happens though if you don't have any biology and you have a good understanding of psychology, and you apply for a job? You are a white male who weighs 110 pounds, and you want to be a firefighter. And a firefighter has to carry equipment that could be 50, 60, 70 pounds. Plus, they have to be able to carry someone who maybe weighs 180 pounds from a fire. So you're told, no, look, you need to have this competence. You need to have this ability, this particular competence for this job. If you're white, it's okay. Well, sorry. And you go to an attorney, look what they did to me. No, the attorney will say, hey, look, you weigh 110 pounds. You don't qualify. You don't have the qualifications for the job. All right. But now, if you fall into the icons, into the victim icons, then let's say that you into the gender icon, you're gay or you're lesbian or you're black or you're Latino or something. Then you go there and you still weigh 110 pounds, and they say, no, look, we need somebody who can do the job. Competence, qualification. You go to an attorney or you go to some government entity, and oh yes, that's discrimination. You're being discriminated because you're gay or because you're black or because you're this or because you're that. And then they have to change the standards. The standards have to be dumbed down. They have to be brought down. So then you can hire someone who is in the untouchables, even if they don't qualify. So you see, your competence is not what's looked for. In a world where all this pseudoscience and junk that doesn't exist, you would go there, and whether you're black or white, heterosexual, homosexual, if you qualify, you get the job. If you don't qualify, you don't get the job, but not because of any kind of action against your person itself, but because you don't have the competence. You're not competent to have that job. So you see, it robs your excellence and it puts you in a position of victimhood, that the only way you can get something is out of victimhood. The white supremacist thing is because the whites have not been put into that position. Maybe the white trash, but you see that those are the admonitions. But let's take it to its logical conclusion, which is what a lot of these people don't have. They have no ability to think logically. Let's go to India, the country of India. Most people in India are darker skin, although they're still white, darker skin. And there are, of course, people that are very white in India, but most of them are darker skin. And in India, they still have a caste system, although they're trying to get away from, and they have what they call the untouchables. The untouchables are the lowest socioeconomic class. Many of them are illiterate, and they are considered untouchable in the sense that they're not even worthy being touched. And if you're walking down the street and you're an untouchable, and a Brahma or someone at a higher level is walking by, you go to the street and you let them go by. Okay? So then what happens if you apply for a job and you use the same political correctness? The untouchables are now the icons. Okay? Let's go logical conclusion. So you're an untouchable, and then you go to Calcutta Fire Department and you say, I want to be a firefighter, but you weigh 110 pounds. Same thing. You're an untouchable, 110 pounds. I say, no, sorry, you can't do it. You don't have the competence. You don't have the qualifications. And that person then goes to the political correctness. Oh, I have been discriminated because I am an untouchable. You get the picture? See how illogical it is? And you can't take things to their logical conclusion because they break. So The importance of words is really something that needs to be considered. And then in every concept of the political correctness idiocy, there's a scapegoat. And the scapegoat here is the white, especially wealthy white, or and if you're conservative, it's even worse. But if you take it to India, then the non untouchables would be then the scapegoat. And the etymology, the origin of words and meaning of the scapegoat is really basically when a priest, a Jewish priest, would symbolically send a goat out with all the sins of the people. So the scapegoat, that's where it comes from. The goat is sent out to the wilderness, taking all the sins of the people. So it's good to understand the etymology of things. The etymology of all these words that I've used are very important because it's pseudoscience. It's not real science. It's pseudopsychology, not real psychology. You have to look at the biology of individuals because we are biocognitive. We have cognition, we have biology, and we have social and cultural components, but you cannot take away the biology. So in education is the same thing. In sports is the same thing. The reason is that they have politicized everything and they have made it into a political correctness kind of thing. I have heard from many people tell me, and I have seen it myself, where a team of 6-year-olds playing soccer and competence again, but they're playing soccer and there's another team that they're much better than the other team. And they start beating them 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1. When it gets to 6-1, they stop counting because they don't want to hurt feelings. So you take competence away and you either bring down the level of excellence needed or you allow people to be upset. What happens when people get upset? You get beaten 30-1. Okay. They were better than you. They had more competence than you. So what do? You get out of playing soccer and get into something else, or you learn to be better so you can compete, having competence. I remember my father wanted me to play baseball, and I was terrible at baseball. I was really bad. So I had to learn that baseball was not for me. I had to let it go. And sports were not for me. I'm not good at sports. I went to karate. I went to my excellence. I got a black belt in karate. But I can't play baseball or football or soccer. That's just how it works. That's how I am. But I didn't go into the victimhood and saying, oh, maybe because I'm Spanish, maybe I'm not good at that. And by the way, when the ignorant of anthropology will say, are you Hispanic or are you white? And you say, wait a minute, I think that you're confusing here ethnicity with race. They're white Hispanics, they're black Hispanics, they're mestizo Hispanics, they're mulatto Hispanics. So it's a convergence of idiocy that is put together to confuse the hell out of you, to take you out of your selfhood, and to dumb down everything so everybody will be happy. It's selective compassion. They're compassionate with everybody except with the people that disagree. Then you get the admonitions of misogyny and xenophobe and racist and all those kind of things. It's pseudoscience, it's illogical, and it's idiocy, and it's corrupting our society. And when children are taught these kinds of things early in life, I consider that to be child abuse because children need to know their truth by what they observe, what they learn, and they need to be allowed to compete so they can learn, so they can know that they have some competence and they know I did well here. So therefore, that's information that says I have good competence self-esteem. But if you try to protect everyone from having to experience any kind of disappointment, it's better to get a C if you're happy than getting an A if you had to work hard for it and you're unhappy. That's stupidity. Why not go to your excellence? Not everybody can get an A, but everybody can sure as hell try. So those are some of the components that I want you to think about. And I'll be talking more about this later, but basically is the erosion of competence when you get into the political correctness. And the enforcers are the political correctness police. They don't burn you at the stake anymore, but you can lose your grants, publications here if you're in academia. And now, for example, well, one example of the inquisitors, when I was writing grants when I was in graduate school, a grant was the merit of the grant. This is going to be used to deal with finding out what are the psychological correlates of type 2 diabetes, for example. And the merit of the study is where you would decide if the grant would be given or not. Now, grants are asking you the political correctness of what you're going to be doing. Who are you going to be offending? How is this going to be applied? And on and on and on. And based on that, you get the grant, independent of whether it has value or not. And that's not an exaggeration. Talk to some professors and you'll see that they'll tell you that. So it's really a corruption and a bastardizing of logic and science for the sake of the politically correct. So I hope that you don't allow yourself to be a useful idiot, because they are the idiots. And I enjoyed it very much. So if you have any questions, you can contact me on YouTube, and I'll have more of these coming up. So enjoy and educate yourself with good science, good biology, good psychology, good anthropology, and good politics.